everyone, welcome back to the podcast. I'm Adrian Lloyd, and this is just my stupid opinion. And we're going to be covering a few range of topics today. We're going to cover politics, we're going to cover Milo's free speech rally, which seems to have fallen apart, and we're also going to cover Trump, and that's actually where we're going to start off today. I got two stories coming at you today. The first one has to do with Trump taking on the NFL, and the next one is Trump when he gave his speech at the UN. So in order to get into what's happening with Trump and the NFL, we're going back just a little bit. As many of you, especially any of you who are sports fans, are probably aware right now of Colin Kaepernick's kneeling during the national anthem protest that has been going on. Colin Kaepernick started this because he felt that the black community was being disproportionately targeted by white police officers, so it was a protest because he felt that America was not doing anything to help in this, so it was his protest in order to show how unhappy he is with the country. And this, of course, was divisive. Something like this is always very divisive between the left and the right. People on the left were supporting him, telling him that his stance was for a good cause and then he should keep it up regardless of the hate. And then we have the people on the right who are saying that Colin Kaepernick hates the country and everybody who supports him hates America and how disrespectful it is just to the nation, to the flag, to everybody who's fought and died for the country. For me, one thing that kind of makes me a little uneasy in supporting Colin Kaepernick is just some of the people that are supporting him. Someone like Linda Sarsour is supporting him, and I have big problems in the past with things that Linda Sarsour has said and done, such as when she organized the Women's Day March, she encouraged many women that the hijab is an empowering material, empowering piece of clothing. And there's just been a couple other figures I'm not crazy about as well that have shown support for him. He's nothing special from what I can tell. I enjoy football, but I'm not a fan who follows what happens. So I'm not familiar with much of Colin Kaepernick's play, so that's why I have to rely on his average here. But anyway, getting back to Trump on this. So the president descended on Alabama to hold a rally. And in this rally, along with a few other things I talked about, he decided to start taking shots at the NFL for how they're running the game, for how they're handling the situation. Because more players are starting to show their support for Colin Kaepernick, and many are starting to say that they are not going to stand during the national anthem either. That they are going to kneel during the national anthem as well. So, the Donald is not happy about this. And as he always does, he took to Twitter to let everybody know how displeased he was with everything. And if you kind of scroll through on it, if you kind of scroll through his Twitter feed, it could be very easy to miss these tweets of him targeting the NFL, because it was just mixed in with different tirades going over hours. Just, a good, you could probably say 8 hours or so in total of just different tweets of him attacking. Starts off by him saying that he's going to Alabama, where he ends up making his big speech. So he's heading to Alabama, and then we end up hearing that John McCain has once again blocked the attempt to repeal Obamacare and replace it with this Trump care, this watered down Obamacare, essentially. So even though it would seem this may have been Republicans' last-ditch attempt to repeal Obamacare, and once again, just like a couple months ago, John McCain stepped in the way and prevented it from going through. So he spends the next couple hours going on a tirade about Obamacare and John McCain, going on more of a tirade, saying the fact that Steph Curry is hesitating to even come to the White House, being a seasoned champ, that his invitation is withdrawn. That's when he gets into if the players want the privilege of making millions of dollars in the NFL or other leagues, or he or she should not be allowed to disrespect our great American flag or country and should stand for the national anthem. If you're not, you're fired. Find something else to do. Goes on to praise his wife. Then moves on to talk about Iran firing a ballistic missile test. Takes a few more shots at the Democrats and John McCain, and then takes some more shots at Roger Goodell and the NFL for his response. So this was all mixed in over the course of several hours of just a tirade of tweets coming out of him attacking everyone left, right, and center. But while he's in his rally in Alabama, this clip here is what really set the people off the most. So now Trump's encouraging people to get up and leave and show their protest in order to drop the NFL ratings even more. Whether this will happen will be very interesting to see. Trump's been pretty influential so far, so I could actually see some people being willing to do it. And something like this does cause a bit of a snowball effect. If a few people are willing to leave, there's many more who are more hesitant that will then be more willing to step up and leave as well. So we'll see what ends up happening, and if actually this comes to affect how the NFL is working. I love how he tends to attribute to himself how the fact that the NFL ratings are dropping is probably because people are tuning in to watch what he has to say. I could not imagine people with less time on their hands than to turn off their sports just to tune in and listen what the president is saying all the time. But I think Trump is on to something when he's talking about they're dropping ratings. not so much to do with NFL, but just sports in general. It seems that a lot of politics has gotten into sports these days. I remember a couple years ago there was the performance by Beyonce at the Super Bowl where it was the 50th year of the Black Panthers, and her backup dancers were dressed like the sort of like the members of the Black Panthers back in the 60s. And this caused a big uproar. Everyone was saying it's a political message. Personally, for me, even at the time, even today, I don't think it's that big of a deal. It was the dress she chose or they chose as backup dancers. Probably Beyonce selected them for them. But to me, even today, I don't think this is as big of a deal. Not that much of a political statement. It kind of is, but it's more showing homage rather than anything else, if you ask me. But ever since then, things have really gotten out of control. One of the big things was this past Super Bowl that just happened. A lot of people were pissed off because they found that all the Super Bowl commercials were politicized. There was a time when we used to tune in and watch the Super Bowl for the commercials because they were great commercials that people would spend millions of dollars to make these great, out of these world, hilarious commercials. Everybody loved them. I sometimes have gone online and just Googled, been on YouTube and searched for Super Bowl commercials because they're so funny. But this time it was just about race relations, wage gap, gender problems. These were all the ads being displayed during the Super Bowl. When the Super Bowl has probably the most viewers probably ever, I think, at one time. It's one of the most popular things on TV ever. Has great ratings, and this is the sort of crap they're going to try and push. So I think this has a lot more to do with actually how politicized everything has become, because ESPN is another organization that is losing money, losing viewers, and this too has to do with whenever you tune in, it seems that they're always not talking about sports, but talking about what's going on in the culture these days. And that's not what people tune in for. That's not what they're there for. People are there to talk about which team is most likely going to win. What does the other team need to do to pull back? How is this player going to change the game? They're there to talk about stats. They're there to talk about situations. They're not there to talk about culture, society, politics, but that's what it's become these days. So people don't want that in their sports anymore. A lot of sports fans just want to watch their sports and they don't give a shit about politics. Some do give a shit about politics, but they still don't want it mixed in with their sports. So that is one place where I thought Trump made some sense. As for the rest of it, I thought he was just being a little bit ridiculous. Although, ever since this, many teams have come together and rallied to push back against what Trump has said. And the hashtag Take a Knee has been trending on Twitter all day. It was September 23rd, yeah. All day. It was just trending. But yeah, teams like the San Francisco 49ers, of course, that's Kaepernick's team, and the New York Giants have been making statements against Trump. CEO Jed York for the 49ers said, quote, "The callous and offensive comments made by the president are contradictory to what the great country stands for. Our players have exercised their rights as United States citizens in order to spark conversation and action to address social injustice. We will continue to support them in their peaceful pursuit of positive change in the country and around the world." End quote. What we got to remember, though, is these are players' jobs. I kind of wonder if the regular Joe could do this sort of thing in their own workplace and get away with it. But in this case, they're supporting their players to make political statements and support social justice. Even though they say address social injustice, then they're supporting social justice. Well, again, this is not why your players are there. Your players are there to show entertainment for your fans who pay good money for tickets every year. Many of those people buy season tickets. They're not curious on what your political statement is. They want to know how hard you can hit the other team. And also, Roger Goodell, the commissioner for the NFL, had to comment on this. And I mentioned earlier, Trump already made shots at him. But what Roger Goodell said is, quote, divisive comments like these demonstrated are an unfortunate lack of respect for the NFL, our great game, and all that our players, and a failure to understand the overwhelming force for good our club and players represent in our communities, end quote. In response to this, Trump ended up tweeting out that saying, Roger Goodell of NFL just put out a statement trying to justify the total disrespect certain players show in our country. Tell them to stand. It's funny how we live in an age where we get all of our information from the president through 140 character these days. There was a time when we had to have press conferences, and there was a time when the president would address the nation, and it would be on every channel, forcing you to watch it or listen to it if you had the radio on or the TV on. Now, just anytime he feels a little pissed off, the president can just put out a fucking tweet. This is a funny time we live in. But some of the other teams showing support for Colin Kaepernick and others doing this protest include the Green Bay Packers, the Miami Dolphins, I already stated the New York Giants, the Buffalo Bills. So I guess it's kind of important to mention that Trump never actually mentioned Colin Kaepernick by name, but it's pretty obvious looking at this who he's making reference to. Well, Kaepernick started this all off, and in case I didn't mention it already, it began in August 2016 when Kaepernick began doing this, and he hasn't been on a team. And he's not on a team right now. He opted out of his contract during the offseason with the 49ers, and no team has been willing to sign him on. And this is some of the problem at least people on the right have with what some of the left are doing. People are saying that Colin Kaepernick deserves a job just because he's kneeling during the anthem. And that's not true. Because even if he's making a good statement, well, if they want to support him and say keep up your statement, sure. But when in the world of sports, everything is about your stats, how well you do, how many touchdowns you get, how many interceptions, how many yards you make. So this sort of political protest is really kind of dumb and unnecessary. That being said, I thought it would be kind of important to point out that no crazy Trump moment would be complete until Alex Jones has to put in his 2 cents. And of course, for Alex Jones, it's not just him showing support for Trump or for Trump pushing back against PC culture and that. No. He's got to link it to a much higher authority problem. And of course, he goes on one of his tirades, as he always does. I got a clip for you right here we can take a look through.
There really aren't words to describe how powerful and how important this simple statement is that you are about to see.
Wouldn't you love to see one of these NFL owners, when somebody disrespects our flag, to say, get that son of a bitch off the field right now, out, he's fired. He's fired!
Now, the NFL, the Players Association groups, all of them are flipping out right now because they're part of the Hollywood, part of the globalist, part of the big media elite that's been bullying and pissing on the American people and telling everybody they're racist and telling everybody they're bad and telling them to accept globalism and socialism and communism and to just give up all our rights or we're going to bully you and call you racist, like Tom Brokaw's called me with no evidence. And people, not just white folks, but everybody I know is just sick of it. They know it's political bullying. It's in the WikiLeaks. So why is this so important? Why am I so excited? Because the power of the boycott. It's why every major authoritarian system seeks to get rid of free market, even though they know it creates wealth and invention and is the best system, because it's not good for elites. Look at North Korea, look at Venezuela. They want full control. They don't want you to have choices. They don't want you to have a free market to have power through boycotts or through voting with your dollars. So Trump's saying, you want to bitch and complain and turn every NFL event into a big pity party and claim blacks are more oppressed than they've ever been and all this other crap, when these are some of the most rich and powerful black folks out there, hundreds of millions of dollars, in many cases apiece. This is all George Soros funded, and people are boycotting it, and there's record low ratings and record low attendance. So Trump's pointing out your power, and that's why even Fox News and the NFL commissioner are like, this is terrible, this is disrespectful, hating America and hating the flag and hijacking sporting events that folks just want to tune in and watch for political bullying. That's okay. But the president's saying, hey, owners, it's your company. You don't like people's political speeches during your event that they're paid to go play in, not give their political views? I mean, it's fine to give players $50,000 fines for, doing ridiculous celebrations, they say, but oh my God, put down America, work for George Soros, try to bully the country, try to, pull a spectacle off. Oh no, don't fire them. And Kaepernick, these other idiots are suing. Kaepernick's out of the NFL because he's a loser and had 2 horrible seasons. He's a loser little titty baby. And that's all this stuff is. And so he's saying it's okay to have America. It's okay to have our country. It's okay to love our nation. But they want to teach you to hate your nation. And America is waking up from this. And that's why Trump's statements are so incredibly powerful, is that he's letting you know you have the power to stop watching this. You have the power to leave. They've been using sports to control people since ancient Rome and ancient Greece and ancient Japan. And so I'm against it overall because it becomes a distraction. It becomes what takes up most men's lives. Instead of being fathers, instead of being politically involved, instead of having quality time with their children and going out camping or tubing or fishing or hunting. It's all just about watching other people, bloated, steroid head, drug addict, spoiled brats. So I say, F the NFL, F the globalist. I'm so glad the thug, punk, Politico chairman of the NFL commissioner, has come out and slapped America in the face and said, we're bad for not wanting to watch them wipe their asses with the American flag every time. And so they just picked a fight with the president and the American people. They're going to lose. Just like mainstream media is collapsing, just like Hollywood's collapsing, just like late night comics are the last best hope of fake media to pull off all this garbage. The NFL has signed its eventual destruction. Thank God. Thank God. The UFC isn't so politically correct. They know what to do. Dana White knows what he's doing. Because I'm not against having some decent sports. Just don't give me your political horse shit. Okay, and beat me over the head of it when I'm sitting around trying to distract myself from all the hard work I've been doing, and I can't even sit down and watch a football game because every break's anti-gun, anti-Christian, anti-family crap. You social engineers crave dominating America? Well, guess what? The sleeping giant's awake now, bitches, and it's over. So everybody start realizing they need us, not the other way around. All these globalists, Hollywood, Rob Reiner, all this trash that wants to say we're all Russians because we want to make America great again and cut taxes and take care of our veterans. Bullshit! You're the globalist. You're the outside threat. You're the traitors. You're the plague. And you're getting your asses kicked politically up and down the street, and you're trying to censor and bully more. That's just going to accelerate the awakening.
So that was a hell of a rant. And let's just go through everything that he blamed inside that rant, because there was a lot. So he started off actually by showing support for boycotts and telling people that they still have a right to boycott. But he's always against boycotting whenever it came to anything to do with Trump or anything he didn't like. As soon as it was anything he had a problem with, well, then boycotting was the worst thing in the world. But now when it's Trump telling everyone to boycott, it's the best thing in the world. He went on to blame the global elite, talk about authoritarian governments, making references to Venezuela and North Korea, ranting against communism and socialism, saying that the NFL owners are working for George Soros, teaching people to hate their own nation, and also blamed the social engineers for all of this. Holy shit. Yeah, somehow everything here has to do, all you have to do is look at what Colin Kaepernick is saying and all these other people are saying. They're saying that they believe they are standing up and, well, I guess no pun intended, but they're standing up to show injustice inside America. So they're doing something to try and show what is wrong with America, to try and make it better in their own point of view. But Alex Jones has gone on to blame them for working for George Soros, global elite, trying to push communism, socialism. Like, don't get me wrong, I've already talked about how politicized everything and everything in the NFL is as well. But in this particular situation, even if this is a political moment for what they're doing, he's saying that they're trying to push communism, socialism, work for the global elite, teaching you to hate your own nation. This is way over the top. I highly doubt that this is what they were trying to push with simply kneeling during the national anthem. Now, he makes some reference about they're stomping on the flag or wiping their ass with the flag, and I guess depending on your point of view, some people would say this, because it is showing some disrespect for your country, although I'm sure in their point of view, they think that it more is showing the problems. It's not showing a disrespect for your country, but it's showing the problems in your country in an effort to better them. That's just Trump being crazy, as always.